The diplomatic vessel Concordia hummed through the void between star systems, carrying representatives from a dozen species toward the annual Galactic Council Summit. In the observation deck, Lisa Chen stood with her hands clasped behind her back, watching the stars blur past in streams of distorted light. She didn't notice the small figure hiding behind the environmental control panel until she heard the whimper. Lisa turned slowly, careful not to make sudden movements. Crouched in the shadows was a Vexorian cub, no more than 5 standard cycles, old by human estimation. The child's silvery fur stood on end, their large eyes reflecting fear and something else. Confusion, perhaps. The cub's parents were among the most influential members of the Vexorian Imperium, a species known for their rigid protocols and emotional restraint. "Hey there," Lisa said softly, lowering herself into a crouch. "You okay, little one?" The cub pressed further into the corner, their small body trembling. Lisa recognized the signs of sensory overload. The observation deck's lighting could be harsh for species with enhanced vision, and the constant thrum of the engines might sound like thunder to sensitive ears. Without thinking too hard about it, Lisa shrugged off her leather jacket, the one her brother Oliver had given her before she'd left Earth for this assignment. It was worn and comfortable, smelling faintly of home. Coffee, synthetic pine from their family's air freshener, and something indefinably human. "This might help," Lisa said, holding it out. "It's warm and soft." The Vexorian cub stared at the jacket, then at Lisa. Slowly, with trembling movements, the child reached out and touched the leather. The texture seemed to fascinate them. Lisa set it down and backed away, giving the cub space. Minutes passed. Eventually, the small Vexorian pulled the jacket around their shoulders. It was comically oversized, swallowing their small frame entirely. But almost immediately, the trembling stopped. The cub's breathing evened out. Lisa smiled. "Better?" The cub nodded, burying their face in the jacket's collar. Ambassador Kexthor found his daughter an hour later, still wearing the human's jacket and sitting beside Lisa, who was telling stories about Earth's oceans. The ambassador's expression was inscrutable, but Lisa had worked with Vexorians long enough to recognize tension in the way his ears angled backward. "Ambassador," Lisa said, standing quickly. "I apologize if I overstepped." "You found Yenna," Kexthor interrupted, his voice carrying that characteristic harmonic quality of his species. "We have been searching. She was overwhelmed," Lisa explained. The jacket seemed to help calm her down. Kexthor's gaze moved to his daughter, who clutched the leather jacket tighter. "Yenna, we must return to our quarters now." But when he reached for the jacket, Yenna made a sound Lisa had never heard from a Vexorian before, a desperate, keening cry that sent chills down her spine. The cub wrapped the jacket around herself like armor, her eyes wide with panic. Kexthor froze. His wife, Ambassador Shivara, appeared in the doorway. Her eyes widened at the scene. "Perhaps," Lisa ventured carefully, "she could keep it for now, until she feels more settled?" The two Vexorian parents exchanged glances, a conversation happening in micro-expressions that Lisa couldn't fully read. Finally, Kexthor inclined his head. "We will return it to you before the summit concludes, Dr. Chen." Lisa didn't see her jacket for the next 3 days. What she did hear, through the ship's rumor mill, was that young Yenna refused to part with it. The cub wore it to meals, to diplomatic functions, even to sleep. The Vexorian delegation had attempted to clean it twice, and both times, Yenna had staged what could only be described as a tiny rebellion. Oliver's voice crackled through Lisa's personal communicator that evening. "So, let me get this straight," her brother said, amusement clear in his tone, despite the light years between them. "You gave away my jacket to an alien kid, and now there's an interstellar incident because they can't wash it?" "It's not an incident," Lisa protested, though she was smiling. "It's just diplomatically complicated. That jacket's seen me through college, 3 breakups, and that time I hiked the Appalachian Trail," Oliver said. "It's got character. No wonder the kid won't give it up." "The Vexorians don't really understand attachment to objects," Lisa explained. They're very practical, logical. The idea that Yenna has formed a bond with something that smells like me, like humans, it's unprecedented. Maybe that's exactly what they need to understand, Oliver suggested. The summit's final day arrived. Lisa stood in the Grand Assembly Hall, listening to species after species discuss trade agreements and territorial disputes. When the Vexorian delegation took the floor, she noticed Yenna standing beside her parents, still wearing the jacket. It had been 5 days. The jacket was showing signs of wear, more wrinkled than before, with a small stain on one sleeve. But Yenna held herself differently now, more confident, less overwhelmed by the chaos of diplomatic proceedings. Ambassador Kexthor's speech surprised everyone. "We have spent centuries priding ourselves on logic and emotional control," he said, his harmonic voice carrying through the hall. "But this summit has taught us something unexpected. Our daughter formed an attachment to a human artifact, a simple jacket. We attempted to remove it, to clean it, to apply logic to the situation." He paused, and Lisa saw something remarkable. The ambassador placed his hand gently on Yenna's head. "But some bonds transcend logic." The human doctor, Chen, showed compassion without calculation. She gave freely, expecting nothing. And in doing so, she taught us that strength can lie in gentleness. That logic, without understanding, is incomplete. After the speech, Kexthor approached Lisa privately. "Dr. Chen, we wish to return your garment." "She can keep it," Lisa interrupted. "Really? Tell Oliver, my brother, that his jacket is doing important diplomatic work." Yenna looked up at Lisa with those large, reflective eyes. Then, in carefully practiced standard, the cub spoke her first words to the human. "Thank you, Lisa. Smells like safe." Lisa knelt down, her eyes suddenly burning. "You're welcome, little one." As the Concordia prepared to depart, carrying delegates back to their respective worlds, Lisa watched Yenna disappear down the corridor, still wearing the jacket, now decorated with a small Vexorian family crest patch that Shivara had carefully sewn onto the sleeve. Humanity's greatest strength, Lisa reflected, wasn't in their technology or their adaptability. It was in their instinct to offer comfort to a frightened child, regardless of species. It was in worn leather jackets that smelled like home, and in brothers who understood that some gifts transcended ownership. It was in the simple act of caring, expecting nothing in return. And sometimes, that was enough to bridge the space between worlds.